In this demo, I'm going to demonstrate how to draft a fly front closure or zipper. All right. So there's basically three pieces we're going to need. You're going to need the pant front. That's what I have here. And then you'll end up with a fly shield and the facing for the fly. Okay. So here I've already traced off the front of my pants. I've only traced it off, about 6 or 7 inches below my crotch line. I don't really need more than that for this demo. All right, here's my inseam, here's the crotch, waist, and side seam. This is my crotch line, and this is my hip line. And this line here is at true waist, okay? So let's go ahead and start drafting this. The first thing you need to determine when you're drafting your shield is where the pant is going to come up to, all right? So right now, I have a pant that comes up to the true waist. A lot of people might not want that, and they might want a shorter pant, or they might not want the rise of the pant or the waistline of the pant to come up so high. Typically, most people wear their pants, below their waist, closer to their hips. All right. For this demo, I'm not going to change anything, but what you'd want to do if you are not going to have your pant come up to true waist is lower it to the desired length. Okay. Once you've done that, then you can start drafting your fly front. Okay, so here's my center front. All right, pants is made up of, the front of the pants. You have two legs, right? So you have a front leg on the left and a front pant leg on the right. On one side, the shield will be attached to it. On the other side will be the facing. Okay, but to draft them, we only need one side of the pant to be able to draft it. It's very easy. Okay, so I'm going to start off by drafting my facing. All right, so my zipper, you always want your zipper or closure, whatever you're putting in, whether it's a zipper or buttons, to go 7 inches below true waist. All right, so even if I were to shorten or bring down the waistline of my pant, I would still want that closure to come 7 inches below from wherever true waist was. So it would open up at least 7 inches from here, okay? Even if I brought it down, if I brought my waistline down to here, that closure, we would still count it 7 inches from here, okay? Typically, that's where your hip line is. It might be a little lower, but we're going to go down to our hip line and say that's where our closure is going to stop, our zipper, all right? So our zipper is going to stop at our hip line, and that's where our facing will stop. I'll do my facing in blue. All right, so now I need to determine how wide I want my facing to be. I think I'm going to do an inch. Let's do 1.25 inches, okay? So here's center front right here. I'm just going to measure in from center front 1.25 inches, and then draw a straight line based off of that line right from my waist down to my hip line, like so. Okay, so this is my facing. It's going to come in 1.25 inches in. Then I'm just going to curve it in. You've probably seen, if you look inside pants, you'll see the facings are typically curved. So I'm just going to blend a curve from this line I just drew to this point right here. I like to use the end of my curved ruler for that. There we go. And I'll just blend those two lines together, like so. Okay, so here's my facing. It's coming down like this and just blending right into that point. Okay, now let's go ahead and do our shield. All right, so our shield, I'm going to have it come out a little further. So if my facing was 1.25 inches, I'm going to add on another quarter to that. So it will come in from center front, or go out from center front 1.5 inches. Let's do that one in green. So I'll go ahead and draw a line 1.5 inches out from center front. And it's going to come down about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inches below our hip line. Okay, so I'm extending that line down further. And then I'm just going to measure down. In this case, I'll do let's do 3/4 inch. I think that's fine. All right, you can do 1/2 inch. I'm going to do 3/4. So it's coming down 3/4 inch. I'll just measure down from my hip line 3/4 inch, and I drew a line. All right. Now again, just like we did the shield, or sorry, the facing, we blend it together. I'm going to smooth out this corner and blend that together as well. So I'll just again use the edge of my curved ruler and blend those two together, like so. Okay, so now this green line, there's my, what will become my shield. Alright, so now that we've done both of these, we need to trace them off of this pattern. Okay, so I'm going to grab another piece of paper. I'll grab two pieces of paper actually. 1, 2. And I'll slide them right underneath. Because again, I'm going to trace both of these off. And I'm just going to do it at the same time. There we are. Okay, and let's just pin this paper down so it doesn't move as we trace it off. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trace off my facing first. It doesn't really matter which. Okay, so we're going to start here at the intersection of center front and waist and go out to the facing line, which is the blue one, and then we'll come down that. And then we have the curve right in. Come here at this angle. And now I'm going to trace down my center front to there. Go down the rise here. And there we go. I've traced off my facing. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my shield. Alright, I've actually already traced off a lot of what my shield will use. Okay, again, the shield is going to come from center front across the waist, down the line of the shield, back over the crotch, and then back up center front. Okay, so I've already traced over most of that, but I'll just do a quick time again, and then come down here. And the green line is the shield. And trace it from here up. And then I'll go over center front. Alright, I'm going to mark here my hip line. It's always nice to have everything, have as many markers. It helps line everything up. Okay, there we go. I've traced these both off. Put this aside. Okay, and it's basically I have the same thing on each paper now. Alright, I don't know if you can see the perforations. Maybe if I put it over, you can see the perforations we made. Okay, so let's go ahead and perfect our shield and our facing. We'll start with our facing. So let's go ahead and true that. So I'm just going to go over those perforations that I've already made. And just follow the lines. Okay. Again, I'm doing the facing right now, so that's the smaller of the two. Okay. Alright, facing on here, or this is center front. And I'll just say that's my facing. So we know. Alright. Let's add seam allowance. Okay. So the seam allowance on our center front here is going to be a 1/2 inch. At the waist, we're going to do a 1/2 inch. And then around this outer edge, which will probably get overlocked, I'll just do a 1/4 inch. That's all we need. Okay, we'll cut that out in a minute. And now let's go ahead and do our shield. Okay, so same thing we just did with the facing. Let's go ahead, mark it up, true it. We're coming out to that outer line now, the wider one. Okay, so don't get your perforations mixed up. The bottom of it, and it's curved. That was my hip line I'm just marking there. Okay, and again, this is center front. Now, this one we're actually going to cut on fold. All right, so I'm going to actually fold. So there's center front. All right, this is where the fold is going to be, right along this edge. All right, I'm going to fold right along that line. So, and now I'll add my seam allowance before I cut it out. So 1/2 inch at the waist. Okay. 1/4 inch out, or sorry, 1/2 inch at the center front. And then around the bottom here, which is going to come up into 0 here, will just be 1/4 inch because this will probably get overlocked. There's a couple different ways you can finish it. Oops. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to keep this folded in half, and then I'll cut it out. I'm just going to put a pin or two in so it doesn't shift on me as I cut it. All right, let's unlock, pin that, and let's notch it. It's still folded over. Notch all our stitching lines on there, and that hip line will act as a notch, so we know where to line it up. Okay, and there's my shield. All right, and again, this is going to end up finished once we go to put it in, folded in half. Okay, but it's a self-facing shield. All right, so there's the shield. Let's go ahead and do our facing now. We'll cut that out. And then there's our facing. Okay, and now we just have the front of the pant to do. On this, we'll just add 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. Now we've added seam allowance, let's go ahead and cut this out real quick. Alright, and there's the front of our pants. One more thing we need to do is add grain lines to our shield and our facing. I'm just going to line them back up where they go. And I'll just use the grain line here on my pants and then transfer whatever angle that's at to these pieces. Same thing with the shield. Let's line that up. There we go. All right, and there it is. Those are the 3 pieces that you need for your fly front zipper or closure. Okay, the front of the pant, the shield, and the facing. Okay, so the facing, again, will be sewn on one side of the pant. So, for example, this was this side. All right. We get stitched on right sides together, flipped over, and be on the inside of the pant and finish that edge off. And then the facing would end up being folded in half, overlock this or something, and then that gets stitched on like so and pops out like that, and the other side of the pant overlaps that. Okay, and if you're interested to know how to sew a fly front closure, there's a link in the section below, and you click on it and you can see how to actually sew fly front. All right, so there it is, your fly front closure. You have your pant front, your shield, and your facing, and that's all you need to create it. All right, everyone, good luck.